This is the story of a wolf rescued from a horrifying situation, a victim of poaching who found himself ensnared in a brutal trap. His world was pain and fear, the sharp sting of metal teeth biting into his flesh, the terror of his vulnerability. His once powerful body was reduced to a pitiful state, his spirit nearly crushed by the immense guilt of having fallen into such a trap, of having become the prey. In his darkest moments, he found solace in a tale of human struggle, Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky. He saw himself in the protagonist, Raskolnikov, who also wrestled with guilt and redemption. The wolf had committed no crime, yet he felt the weight of punishment. Just as Raskolnikov was haunted by his crime, the wolf was haunted by his weakness. But in the depths of despair, he found a glimmer of hope. Rescuers found him, beaten but not broken, and began his journey toward redemption. They showed him kindness, tended to his wounds, and gave him a chance to heal, a chance to regain his strength. In the love and care he found in his rescuers, the wolf experienced a transformation as profound as Raskolnikov's. He learned to trust again, to hope again. He learned the power of redemption and the possibility of a second chance. The wolf's journey resonates with the themes of guilt, punishment, and redemption in Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment. His tale of survival and redemption is a testament to the indomitable spirit of every creature that has faced adversity and emerged victorious. Do you think this wolf story resembles Crime and Punishment? Subscribe and turn on notifications to hear more literary tales of rescued animals.